Henri! Food! Smart man! Food! Take a right!
Oh, yeah,
Always appreciate it when racers give us some of their time. So,
well, there's no rush. I mean, the fourth guy is far behind me,
so this is Henri Do. Is that how you say your last name?
Do or Do.
Do.
Yeah.
From Montreal. Chowing down at the famous sheets in Ashland, and it looks like it's starting to drizzle, of course. So, Deb had the first question. She wants to know.
I always like to know what was your favorite and least favorite part of the Trans Am this year?
Favorite part? It went by so fast, you know, it's hard to pinpoint like specific spot, but Oregon is gorgeous, actually.
Oregon.
Yeah. The start of it, you know, when you still feel fresh in the beginning, you're just biking down. The tailwind was amazing the first day.
Yeah, you guys had amazing weather in Oregon.
Yeah.
The past couple of years, it's been not so fun. So.
Yeah. So that was amazing. Wyoming also, like just right before Yellowstone, that was amazing. That entire part was beautiful, gorgeous. Going down also, I forgot what it's called. Where was it? So it was past. Wait, no. Right before Yellowstone, when you go down those valleys. I forgot what it's called. I forgot where it was. I think it's Montana. That too was amazing.
I'm always shocked
Yeah.
that you guys can, in your mind, remember any of the places. I would think at this stage it's all a blur.
Well, more or less, you know, like. Yeah. Least favorite place. That too is hard. Like, Kentucky was pretty tough, like with all the dogs. Like I was prepared for it mentally, but it's still a shock, you know, when you go through Kentucky and then get chased by a dog constantly.
There's impressive compilation of dog
Oh, yes.
videos.
A lot of cursing in there.
That's okay.
That was okay.
Cover your ears, watch the
We can all
dogs.
identify with that.
Yeah. But I mean, it did give me a rush every time I saw a dog, so that was good. It woke me up every time. So. But also at night, like I was super alert at night, like just trying to scan the area before getting there, just to make sure there's no dogs. They're just to pop out anywhere. At some point, you know, there were a lot of cattle, and all you can see is like the green eyes, you know, with your headlamp that's reflecting back at you. So I'm not sure if it's a dog, cattle, what kind of animal it is. So slightly stressful at night in Kentucky, yeah.
And that takes a lot of energy out of you.
It does. It does.
And you've had your fair share of mechanicals
Yeah.
as well.
Well, I was trying, but at least 10 flats, you know. Like the first half of the race, I had on the rear tire before I changed it. I had 4 or 5 flats, and every time also like I would be at a critical moment. So my first flat was actually when I was about to catch Pavel, and then the second flat happened after I had caught Pavel and passed him and was trying to catch Omar, and also it happened right when it started pouring outside, so thunderstorm. The third flat was after when I passed Omar going up Yellowstone, and that flat was just the worst because I had to tape the entire tire inside. Like I had so many holes in the tire,
Yeah.
so I had to duct tape the entire thing. And also, I never realized Omar passed me at that point because I was going up Yellowstone, and I didn't want the bears, you know, to just watch me in the middle of the road, pitch black darkness. So I went off to the side on the campsite, and going off to the side, well, you don't see who's coming up the road anymore. And I only realized afterwards that Omar had passed me when I had self-service afterwards. So that was unfortunate, but I mean, it was still early in the race, you know, and there's always a way to come back. Like, my deficit did grow pretty large at some point, but that didn't worry me, you know, like, I thought there's always a way to make up time and make up your deficit. Like, you just have to go for it. And
This was an incredibly exciting race this year. You guys, you first three at the front were just awesome. Nobody ever gave up.
Yeah.
You know, chapeau. You know,
Thank you.
Great efforts all the way around. It was
Yeah.
exciting, and you did a ton of posts,
Oh,
which
yeah.
is kind of unusual from the front, by the way. So,
You know
I
what?
think it was greatly appreciated to kind of get
Oh,
in your
thank
head a
you.
little bit and see what's going on.
Yeah, I mean, if I had all the time in my world and if I had more capacity, like I enjoy documenting all the things I do and just sharing the stuff I do because I mean, you see so many beautiful things and you go through so many emotions, and I like sharing that stuff with my community. So I try to do it as much as I can, but of course, being in the Trans Am bike race, well, I can't do what I usually do. So what I did this year though is for my stories on Instagram, I had a friend repost all the stuff in my style, although she did laugh, or she didn't have the full information, so she did miss some stuff. But I also had my channel on Instagram where I just posted random stuff about any filters and just dumping it all there. So
Very cool.
yeah,
So you were second in the Transcon, the Trans-Canadian race
Yeah.
last year. That's like more than double the length, I
Yeah.
believe, of the
Yeah.
Trans Am
exactly.
or so. I mean, can you compare is there any way to compare the two?
It's two very different races. I mean, for the Trans Can, it was my first real ultra distance, multi-day, multi-week, multi-month bike packing race. So I didn't know what to expect. I came into it without much experience. I'm more of a 24-hour, 40-hour guy. That's why I'm able to dish out some really big rides in 24 hours and 40 hours, going really fast. Then I crash afterwards. So that's where my expertise. So having to do it multi-day, multi-week was something new for me. And I mean, it's also something where I learned a lot on just how to sleep outside, because usually I don't sleep. Usually when I do a 24-hour ride, I go for it, I don't sleep, go home and sleep afterwards. But for the Transcan, I had to figure out how to sleep. Like picnic tables, post offices, outside, wherever you find it, a shelter. So that was new for me, and it was the whole process of the Transcan was pretty much for the Trans Am afterwards. So I wanted to learn as much as I could on the Transcan, so then afterwards I could be competitive at the Trans Am.
So you actually did the Canadian race kind of in preparation,
Exactly.
knowing you were going to do the
Exactly.
Trans Am this year. Got it.
Yeah, exactly. The Transcan also being a new race, we weren't many. We were only two actually. So I use it more as like a long adventure. So I only had 2 months off from work. So it was a 2 months deadline to finish the Transcan. And also to learn as much as I can, to see as much as I can also, because I've always wanted to discover Canada on two wheels like that. So. But yes, it was a big thing in preparation for the
But
Trans
you
Am
kind
this
of got
year.
a deadline for this one
I-
too. You got to be at
I
work
do.
on Tuesday.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey boss, sorry.
Actually, when my boss asked me, I told him, well, I'm doing the Trans Am this year, and he asked me, well, how many weeks are you taking off? Like, how many months are you taking off? I'm like, only 3 weeks off. And he's like, how is that possible? I mean, the Transcan you took 2 months off, and even then, for the Transcan you went over your 2 months. So, because of course my bike broke in the Transcan, so that's why.
You mentioned you're probably running 25 pounds less for the Trans Am
yes.
than you were for. Sorry.
Yeah, so the Transcan was a big learning experience. Like, I had no idea what to take on me. I mean, I carried my entire pharmacy for the entire race, which I barely use, So a lot of the things that I had for comfort for the Transcan, I dished it all, Like, I didn't need much anymore. I had 2 pairs of bibs for the Transcan. I've been wearing the same thing for the Trans Am since the start. Even now, I have a pair of shorts and t-shirts in my saddlebag, which I've never worn so far. So that too, I could have ditched easily. But yeah, there's a lot of things that I had on the Transcan that I just never ended up using. Again, part of the learning experience and the learning process for the Trans Am. So
And my last question is, I see your arm again.
Yes.
Could you tell us about your dinosaurs, the story behind René?
So René, basically, René means, well, in French, René, when you say je suis René, it means you are reborn. So René symbolizes rebirth or pretty much a comeback. So whenever you have a down or a tough time or anything that goes wrong, I think that there's always a way to come back from it and to come back strong from it. Hence the multiple comebacks I've had during the Trans Am. With a deficit, I mean, I was behind Pavel and Omar for more than 150 miles at one point, and I came back from that in a day or two. So that's when I would say je suis René, so I am reborn. So it's a bit of a symbolic thing for me, I find, because I find that even when I feel like shit, or I feel like I'm going through a tough time, or I feel like I can't come out or climb out of my hole, there's always hope in me that I will be reborn and I will feel better afterwards eventually, and be strong enough afterwards to overcome whatever challenges shows up before me, you know. So.
And to get to the stage, you've had to overcome
exactly
a lot of challenges. So that's a great story.
Yeah.
Bon voyage.
So that's why I have these temporary tattoos of a dinosaur. It used to be a joke, you know. So it started out as a joke, and René, we'll wait for that. Science to pass.
It's not a train, it's an ambulance.
We'll get back to our normal broadcast any second, folks.
Yeah. So essentially, René is a pretty old school French name that nobody uses anymore.
Huh.
So how it started was I had a temporary tattoo of a dinosaur on my arm, and it was just a joke, you know, at one point. So we were riding, me and a friend, and it was a long ride, it was a tough ride, and we both felt dead. We both went to cemeteries to take a nap, and then we talked about the dinosaur, how it should have a name, and we also talked about the René, how René is a very ugly, well, no offense, man, but very old school, old people name. And then all of a sudden my friend says, oh, je suis René, and I'm like, oh yeah, you're reborn, so oh yeah, the dinosaur should be called René. It's the perfect fitting name, you know, for something that's may seem meaningless. And then ever since that day, dinosaur's been called René, and every time I see a dinosaur or a Brontosaurus, I think of René, which is the dinosaur that brings me back to life every time. And I've had 2 tattoos. So the first tattoo I posted on my arm the first time I came back to catch Omar and Pavel. And the second one, more recently, as you can see, it's not as faded as the first one. Just to try to give myself more, you know, more ammo to come back.
That's great.
For life.
I appreciate your time. I know you've got a race to do. Bon chance.
Thank you.
Best of luck.
Well,
Safe travels.
The sun's coming out again. The sky's blue.
Hopefully you'll get a nice weather all the way to the end.